Today I talked with Tim Lemons from Highland Fellowship Church in the Virginia area. This is a 5-campus church with an online campus that absolutely is not afraid to try new things. I love these guys because they're extremely creative and they're all about reaching more people. Well, Tim serves as the systems pastor, overseeing many areas, including the website and their church management system called Rock. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Well, hey, Tim, thanks so much for joining us today. Glad to have you, man.
Thanks for inviting me. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So you guys are doing some really cool things. You're already in person, huh?
We are. We started, I believe it was May 31st. So at the time of this recording, it's been about 3 weeks.
Wow. What have you learned?
Well, people don't want to come back. So funny story. This isn't a funny story, this part of it. My grandfather passed away a month ago. And I was over at my grandma's house, and just hanging out with family. And someone calls from the church, and it's an older lady. I mean, she's like probably one of the oldest ladies in our church, right? And she calls my grandma and she says, "Hey, how are you doing?" And so they talk just a minute about that. And then the very next thing out of this woman's mouth is, "Hey, did you hear we get to come back to church this weekend?" And I'm thinking, wow. So here's an older lady, right, who's high risk. And second thing out of her mouth on a conversation with my grandma is, "Hey, we get to come back to church this weekend." And I'm thinking, man, maybe we'll be the exception and people will actually flock back to church, because from the churches I've talked to, it's definitely been a lower attendance. But so I'm thinking, well, okay, maybe we'll be a little different because we're in the South, Virginia, Tennessee border, churches everywhere. Everybody's talking about church and how important it is, and people got mad at us for canceling church, all this crazy stuff. So I thought, all right, well, maybe all these people will come and we'll actually have we'll meet our max capacity. So our largest campus in Abingdon, Virginia, we set the max capacity at 220, I think is what we set for one venue. We have 2 venues at that location. And sure enough, by Saturday night, it was at max registration. So 220 people said they were coming. But then that Sunday morning, we only had about 80% of those people show up. So we weren't at max capacity at any of our campuses. That was our highest capacity. And then the next week, we had not quite that many people register and even less people attend. And then the next week, a little less people attend. So I spent a long time in Rock creating this awesome reserve your seat ticket website thing, and we're using like like a wallet pass, so it's really cool. When you walk into the building, it pops up and says, "Hey there, Tim, welcome home," and you can scan your little pass. And we created this awesome experience, and we're probably going to can it when we start July because nobody's registering. We're not being max capacity by any means.
So would you recommend that churches not do an RSVP?
Yeah, based on what I've experienced in our church, and then again, I'm part of the Rock community, Rock RMS. If you guys don't know about that, check it out. But it's a big community using software, and most of the churches that I've seen in there, small and extremely large, like Life Church, started out doing reserve your seats, and they 2 or 3 weeks in canned it. So I think I would recommend not doing the reserve your seat. And maybe just have a plan of, tracking how many people come into the building. Once you hit that max capacity, politely say, I'm sorry, but can't come in due to the restrictions. But I'll be honest, I'll be surprised if you reach the max capacity, unless you have to set it really, really low compared to your regular attendance. I don't know. But
Well, I imagine after a few weeks, you get an idea, right,
mm-hmm.
of the people that come back versus staying at home.
Yes. Yeah. Our attendance online has definitely skyrocketed during this time. We've been doing online campus, I think, for almost 10 years, probably like 8 or 9 years. So we've always done church online for quite a long time. So it wasn't anything new for us. And our people were used to, if they're traveling or whatever, they would check us out online. So our online campus definitely grew as far as views and attendance online. But yeah, I think most people are just fearful, honestly, to come back, even though, I mean, we've tried to communicate what precautions we're taking, so many people in the building, and we're, saving seats to where there's space between every family, and we're cleaning like crazy, but, people are fearful. And then I heard, Kerry Newhoff talking at the Thrive conference was this week, and he was talking about how, why would a family get up in the morning if they got kids? They got to get all their kids together. They come to church, and then maybe they serve a service and they attend the service is kind of a typical thing. So by the time Sunday is over, 4 or 5 hours in, they've got a big investment versus wake up, sit in your pajamas, watch church, and you're 45 minutes to an hour and you're done. So I think sadly, I think it's going to be a while before we get back to a normal thing. In fact, I don't know that normal will ever be the old normal.
Yeah, I kind of hear the same thing, right? Talking to a lot of churches, there's this sense of, this disease in about 2 weeks caused every church to pivot 180.
Yes.
Churches have I think they've done a decent job of reacting to that. Some, like you guys, are way further down the path than others when it comes to online. But what's going to be interesting is coming out of this, whenever that is, and like you said, this new normal, what's that going to do for online church versus in-person church? And what kind of resources will get applied to online church? Because right now, the way you were doing church is you'd actually probably put together, you produce the show, so to speak. Right. With online church, is that going to be different? Have you guys thought through about, what does this look like as we get deeper into in-person and managing both?
Yeah, I was literally just 2 hours ago talking to my supervisor about this, and we were talking, tech-wise, our tech staff and worship staff, they have been able to pivot and spend, these past few months really upping the quality of production on the online campus, right? So we were able to pre-record and spend time in studio, like tweaking and making it sound better. And instead of doing like a full-blown band and huge lights and the show, we kind of did a little more acoustic-y feel. So we've done all these things, but now we're coming back to meeting in person, and we're like, okay, we can't keep up doing what we were doing at that quality, and come back and meet in person. And we actually just hired somebody full-time, and they're a full-time Sunday morning person. And I was talking to my supervisor, I was like, man, we really need to hire someone that has nothing to do with Sunday morning, because that's going to be less of a priority, I think, moving forward for most churches. And then she was telling me they were talking in the lead team about how, you have coronavirus happen, and you have fear, and everybody staying indoors and secluded and isolation. And then you have the riots going on, and it's like the complete opposite. And they come out in droves because they're passionate about it, right? So the question presented was, well, if they're not coming back to church, is it because they're not passionate about church? Or better yet, are we giving them something to be passionate about? So she and I were just talking, just the two of us, saying, we kind of got to figure out, first off, are we passionate as leaders, right? Have we been stuck in a rut, or maybe on autopilot? I get on autopilot a lot. Yep. Of just keep doing what you're doing, right? And making it, maintaining it. But so we were talking about, like, what do people want? People want to be loved. They want to be in community. They want to be needed, right? And for me, for her, for anybody around these offices, I can tell you their story. And probably for you, everyone's story is they got involved and they were needed, and serving is what usually makes people stick around. So I think what we're going to try to pivot towards is definitely more intense community somehow. Like, we don't know the answers, we're just kind of talking, but we got to get better at community on Sunday morning. If we're going to keep doing Sunday morning, right? Like, we got to get better at community during the week is really the bigger thing, right? But since we've already came back to doing Sunday morning, we got to make Sunday morning different somehow. And for us, I think we're saying the difference is we've got to do a better impact, or a better job on getting our people serving. and a better job of actually building community versus coming in, grabbing your coffee, your donuts, sitting in and watching a service and getting up and leaving. Because why on earth would anybody do that if they can do that in their pajamas with their own coffee and their own food? And, it's so much easier.
You're right. And even after there is a vaccination and they there's a cure to this thing and COVID-19 is sort of behind us in a sense, it's still people are going to be used to doing this online. And it's going to be I think it's going to be a little bit of a struggle for churches, like you said, to have that create, what is that crave? What is it that they need that's going to cause them to desire to come and be a part of it? You're going to have your base, but you think about unchurched people, that's a whole nother world. And
it is.
I do think that COVID has created a opportunity for just to reach anybody and everybody way further than your own campus could reach people, because now you can reach anybody online. But that engagement part, that sense of belonging and community, that sense of, I feel like I'm accomplishing something. I want to be a part of a movement.
Mm-hmm.
That's dead on. And how do you do that with an online community and an in-person community? I mean, it's new challenges, huh?
It is, for sure. Yeah. And we were able, like our local Fox affiliate hit us up and said, hey, we have a slot 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. Do you guys want to be on that? And so we're like, well, yeah, why not? So that's a whole other audience. And measuring engagement on TV it's impossible. I don't even know how to do it. We're asking people to text Jesus to a number and we're getting some of those, but we don't know how many people are watching us. But we do hear, like our senior pastor was out in a town that's like 40 minutes away the other day, and people were stopping him and saying, hey, I saw you on Fox and you're the pastor of that church. And so people are watching this new people, reaching new people, which is really awesome. But at the same time, there's no community in that. Like there's, unless they connect with us or they text Jesus to us, we have no idea who they are. So it's a whole other set of problems and questions, I guess.
It is. And I think the church, we got a lot of smart people leading the Big C church, right? There's a lot of smart people. So, God's got this. He'll lead us down a path, the right path. It's just a matter of listening to him and what he wants us to do. But
yes.
Yeah. So specifically with what you do, which you get to oversee, Rock inside of your church. And as you said earlier, for those that don't know, Rock RMS, great church management platform, phenomenal platform.
Yes.
And you guys are really diving deep into Rock. What are some things that you're doing inside of Rock that cause that connection to occur? Like, because this is kind of how do you reach unchurched people and all that kind of stuff is what we do. But how do you use Rock to bridge that gap and disciple people and move them forward?
Well, so Rock is just like, I almost cringe at saying it because it's not just like, but it is in a sense just like any other relationship management system. That's what RMS stands for, or customer relationship. And if you don't work it, then it doesn't work. So the one we came from before, which I won't say, but it was horrible. I mean, like horrible. And so nobody wanted to use it, right? Nobody did use it. We were paying, and really it was just like a Rolodex, and our giving was about the only thing in there, and checking in kids. And so when we switched, we had to fight that, this is just another software that no one's going to use. Yeah. So, but the cool thing about Rock is it's an open source thing. It's completely ministry minded. They're run by ministry people. It's donation based. I mean, if that doesn't speak to you, that's something completely different. So to be kingdom minded, it's like, if you don't want to pay me anything, okay. I mean, that's kingdom minded generosity at its best. But with Rock, it's open source. There's a huge community of churches. Like, I mean, I'm looking at my secondary screen right here. I've got Rocket Chat open with the whole community. I can ask questions in here and get answers faster than I do with any paid customer service I've ever had in my life. So it's a great community. And so I think the best thing about Rock is the community. Like, I get to see what other churches are doing. I get to share what I do, and it's so adaptable. So if I come up with some idea, then they can take it. Like this whole ticketing thing, we needed to check people in and other churches weren't. So I kind of did a different thing than anybody else. And then I was able to share that with other people. And it's an awesome thing. But as far as engagement goes, it has a connection. They call it a connection. And so, I mean, you can text things in if you want to do that. You can email in, you can go to the website, you can, there's so many different options, and there's just accountability built in with the connection part where you can see how many open connections there are and how many days it's been since you've worked your connections. And so we try, and we don't do it well. I mean, it's a tough thing, especially coming from a system that people didn't want to use. So we're still struggling through holding people accountable because it's tough in church life, right? But we try, we strive. So again, with Rock though, it's open source. There's so many plugins. There's like, the sky is the limit. Like with our previous thing, we used to say, like, if someone was like, hey, can you do this with that? No. But with Rock, it's like, yeah, I can do that. How much time do you got and how much money do you have?
Right.
Because we can do it. Rock will do anything almost. So just for an example, when we first started on Rock, it was like, there's no good way to take attendance for adults for big churches. People walk in the building, everybody doesn't fill out cards. You can't count everybody. You can do a head count, but you have no idea who they are. Yeah. So there's a company that created a plugin, and now when someone comes in and connects to our Wi-Fi, we ask for their first name and their email address. And so now we know when they walk into the building that they were in the building, and Rock helps us do that. I mean, that's like next level stuff that, big brands have, and finally it's in the church's hands and we're using it for good instead of evil, right?
Right.
Does that answer the question? You want to go deeper?
Yeah, you guys, it seems like you guys are, Rock is such a powerful platform, and it's got huge potential, not just to keep track and donations and check kids in and all that kind of stuff. I get really excited about the discipleshipness of it. I get excited about when people walk in and they sort of self-identify and they raise their hand for the first time. You can watch their progress as they join a small group, as they start to serve, or they give, or they become baptized. They give their life to Christ and become baptized. I mean, all these metrics. What events do they take? And really have a path, right? A funnel. Funnels are usually funnels around the
marketing.
Yeah, marketing and big boxes trying to get your money. Well, right. What we're trying to do is
we just want your soul.
So it's a different kind of funnel, but yet churches still have to realize that's what it takes. And so as you generate more website traffic, getting those people that go to your website to actually attend or take that next step, Rock can play a big part in that.
Yes. Yeah. It's incredible. I mean, if you don't know, go to rockrms.com and there's a demo site that you can get to from there and play in it. I mean, if you go to a person's profile page, so every person in your database has their own like profile page, right? And you can see so much at just a glance. Like you can see their average attendance for the last 12 months, actually 24 months. And that's based on like checking in kids, or if you're doing the Wi-Fi thing, you can do some things to tweak that and get that to work. But there's so many options. You can see when they were baptized, when they accepted Christ. We ask people when they fill out cards, their t-shirt size. So we know their t-shirt size for a lot of people. And that helps us when we order shirts and we're helping, give a shirt to a volunteer. We already know their size. I mean, anything you want to measure, you can measure. And then another great thing about Rock is they are constantly evolving and like cutting edge innovation. And so they're always updating. And in the most recent update, we have now things called steps. And it's really makes it so you could do it before, but it's so much easier now just to say, okay, Tim accepted Christ on this day. So his next step is to be baptized. And then after he does that, then maybe it's join a small group or start giving or start serving. And you can lay out all these steps in a clear, systematic way and really measure that engagement. And then you can create data views and reports, and you can be like, well, 20% of our church gives, and 50% of our church actually serve and are in volunteering, and attendance is this of your people. It's awesome. It really is.
It is. And it really, from the standpoint of church growth or reaching younger people? Because one of my questions is, what are you guys doing to go after younger, growing younger? You can use this data to really tell your leadership either A, we are, or B, we're not. And there's the things that we need to be doing to focus on reaching younger families. Are you finding some success in that when it comes to using Rock?
Oh man, we're always tweaking and doing new things. And of course we want to grow young. One of our campuses, like the original campus, is growing older and not growing younger quite as much, but that reflects the community we're in. We're like one of the top retirement towns in the country or something crazy. So it kind of makes sense that we are a little bit older. But some of our other campuses, we have a campus in Bluefield, Virginia, and it's really young, and the leader there is young. He's 20 something. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, definitely we look at our demographics and we measure those things, and of course we want to reach the next generation, and it's always. I love Andy Stanley said, you can either fight it or you can support or fund it, right? As an older person, you can either fight what the younger generation is doing, or you can choose to fund it and get out of the way and let them do what they want to do to reach their people, right? Yeah. So, I mean, it's always it's a struggle to reach younger people. But I mean, I have always been like, I'm a beta user of everything, right? Like when Evernote first came out, I was one of the first Evernote users to sign up, right? I was one of the first people on Twitter. Like I think I was still I don't know what it was, but I was up there in numbers, right? So I'm always like trying new things, but I think the younger people, they love technology, they love new things. And when we did it's a plugin called the Mind Pass. But again, it's just essentially your thing on your wallet. But yeah. I mean, that's awesome, right? If I go to the website and I register to say I'm going to plan a visit to your church, and we can send them this and say, hey, this is going to make check-in easier for you. And I don't know, it just does. It does help,
I think you're tailoring to a younger family because that's what they're used to experiencing. Younger dads and just even millennials that don't have kids, they're just used to that technology. Yeah. And so you guys, I mean, that's a huge step forward that you may not realize, that your church has decided to go there so that it's comfortable for people that are unchurched, that are younger. Whereas other churches aren't doing that. And so it's almost like there isn't a fit, right? But because you guys have done that from a technology standpoint, people they're okay with it. They'll self-identify, they'll raise their hand digitally speaking, and they're okay with it, right? And so you're seeing some success with that, which is really cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you're using technology to advance your church and grow your church younger.
Yeah, that and hiring this company called Missional Marketing. They do some good work.
We try. Yeah, we love working with you guys. I mean,
yeah.
That's our heart and passion is always, as you know, it's just we want to go after people that are far from God, that are either looking for a church or they're looking for help with a felt need, and getting more website traffic, getting them to your site so they can learn about you and engage and start that process. And that could take 1 week or it could take a year. We don't know, but that's up to God. We've planted the seeds and he's moving them, but it's fun to work with because you guys are just progressive and forward thinking in that space.
Yeah. I mean, we started 25 years ago. This Easter would have been 25 years, and we were, I mean, again, Southwest Virginia, right? Little small churches, pews, one piano. I mean, not that anything's wrong with that. I'm not trashing that. That's what I grew up in. That's what changed my life. Yeah. But we've always been a catalyst in our area, I guess, of change. And so thankfully we don't have to fight changing too much. I mean, of course we have our blind spots right now, and we've been stuck in a few ways for a few years in certain things, but we're not afraid to change. Like, I mean, just to give you an example, we had a campus in Johnson City, and Johnson City is like a much younger crowd, a different field than where we're at, but it's only 45 minutes away, and that campus just wasn't growing like it should. It has the most potential as far as growth and population, and so we changed the name of the campus to New Collective Church, And so it's really its own church. It's still under our umbrella, but they're doing their own thing. And that was a risk, right, to take a campus and try something like that. But I'm thankful we did, and it's a younger congregation, and the guy there is really a passionate speaker and attracting new people. And we've seen, I think March would have been a year since we did that. And I can't give you the exact number, but it is well above 50 salvations. I want to say close to 100.
Awesome.
So, yeah. So we're not afraid to try different things and change, which is good.
Yeah. Well, okay. So kind of winding this down, when you look at the future, and looking at church growth and looking at actually probably speaking into rock in this, but what do you think is going to be one of the biggest challenges for you guys over the next decade?
Next decade. I don't know. I think I've gone back and forth on different answers to that, I think, in the past few years, but I'm thinking of a TED talk that I heard Rick Warren do, and he talked about, he said, actually just quoted it to my supervisor a little while ago, but it said something like, don't try to be like in as far as like the in style, because if you do, eventually you'll be out of style. And he said, instead, focus on what needs to change, but just as much as you focus on what needs to change, focus on what doesn't need to change. And so I think over the next 10 years, again, if you go back to what do people need, they need to belong. They need to feel loved. They need to feel like they have a meaning. So I think one thing I can say won't change in the next 10 years is we're still going to passionately go after people, to tell them that there's a God that loves them and try to get them involved in changing their world, and giving them a purpose to live, right? Like Jesus didn't come and die just so we can go to heaven, but to give us an abundant life, and people are missing out on that. So those are the things that I know won't change, but to predict the next 10 years, I don't know. I mean, I definitely see technology more and more being involved. Churches who are like afraid of technology need to really just get over that and embrace it, because it's not going away. And, unless we have like some apocalyptic shutdown and no electricity, right? It's just going to keep going from here, I think. Rock, I mean, not to keep plugging rock, but man, I mean, rock is truly amazing. It's one of the best decisions we have made as a church in a couple of years, probably, because it's had that much of an impact in our church. But one of the rock conferences, there's a guy talking, and he shares the story of Target, right? Like, Target knew that this daughter was pregnant, and so they send a mailing to the house, and the dad gets it, and it's like for baby formula or something, right? And he's like, baby formula? Why are we getting ads for baby formula? So the dad didn't know that his daughter was pregnant, but Target did, because of shopping experience and like knowing that household was looking at baby stuff or looking at certain sites and all these kind of things. Those are the things that like big businesses are doing, and they're using it to make money. All right. But like some of the stuff that Glue as a company and partnering with Rock is doing is using those things instead to predict, if a household is doing this and this and this and this, then probably in the next 3 months, they're going to end in divorce. So what if you got ahead of that and was able to stop that, and you could reach them maybe with marketing of ads for saving your marriage, or or same thing, through that you could predict that they're going to go bankrupt. Well, what if you caught that six months ahead of time and provided financial counseling, or I don't know. So don't be afraid of that stuff, I guess, is what I would say to church leadership, because it's there, it's being used. So let's redeem it. All right. Jesus is a redeemer. So let's redeem that technology for his good.
Yeah. And what I always tell churches is half the battle is content.
Yes.
The church already has that. We preach about it. We've built ministry around it. We have a Bible that has answers. Content isn't the problem. It's structuring it properly so that when Google crawls it, Google sees it, finds it, and allows users to see it as well, either through an ad grant program or just organically, right?
Yep.
And the church that understands that is going to be the one that continues to grow and advance. The one that doesn't, just a matter of time.
Yeah. Yep. It's true.
Yeah. Cool. Well, man, I appreciate you. I love your heart for ministry and your giftedness for understanding technology and especially rock, but just using your talents and gifts that God gave you to advance His kingdom and grow His church. So, thank you, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. Absolutely.
All right. Good to talk with you.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Well, thanks again, Tim. We learned a few things about re-entry into in-person church, and that using technology to help grow your church is a must. Tim talked about website content and making sure the website can be found in Google. Well, we offer this content to churches. We have already built great landing page content that focuses on what people are searching for online. If you want to learn more about this, just ask. We'd be happy to explain this in more detail. Until next time.